Welcome to Write to Publish, your go-to podcast for all things writing and publishing. I'm Karen Stanley, a 14 times published author and the founder of Mabel and Stanley Publishing. Join me as I share a multitude of tips and insights drawn from my own writing and publishing journey. We'll be hearing from some inspirational authors too, who will share their writing experiences and top tips for success. Each week, we'll learn about an aspect of writing, from composition to genre and from publishing to marketing. Listen in as we learn and chat about all things writing and publishing, and let's get you on the right path. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Write to Publish podcast. Lovely to have you with me here today, tonight, this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are and wherever you're listening and at whatever time. So this week I wanted to talk to you about your novel inspirations. If you're writing a story, how do you get the inspiration for that story, and how do you keep yourself motivated and inspired to make sure that you plan a really good story arc? We've talked about story arcs before, and that really just is the term used for how you kind of construct your story from the setting, description and introduction at the beginning, all the way through the rising action, right up to the climax of the story, before you have the falling action down to the resolution. So there are a few ways that you can get some inspiration for your novels. It's not a particularly long episode this week, but I just wanted to share with you a couple of the ways that I get inspiration for my novels, and also things that I've heard that other people do. You may do something similar, you may do something different, but it'd be lovely to hear from you if you could share what you do and how you do it. That would be great to hear from you. The first thing you've got to do in any realm of writing and in any way to be able to become a good writer is you must read. I've said it, I say it all the time really. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it again. If you're not a reader, you can't really be a writer. It would be a bit like trying to be a chef and not liking food. You've got to know your craft. You've got to know what you love to read, what inspires you, what motivates you, what leaves you cold and makes you not want to read on. The more you read, the more you can look at reading as a writer, and you can look at the composition, you can look at the grammar, you can look at the word choices, the descriptions, the settings, the characters, how the characters are developed, all of those things. When you start to read, and particularly when you start to read like a writer, you'll find that you get some really good inspiration. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that you go around copying stories. That's not what it's about. But what it does do is it gives you those ideas, and it helps you to see how a good story builds and how a not so good story doesn't build. Basically, there's a difference between the two. So you can look at the different elements in that story and the stories that you've read and the genres that you've read, and you can use some of those elements in your own writing to kind of find your voice, but also to create a good story arc. This is something I love to do. The next point is to observe the world around you. I spend loads of time people watching. Some might say I'm a bit nosy, but I love looking at people, how people interact with each other, how people engage with each other, the funny things that people do, even when they think they're not being funny or they don't realise they're being funny. But you can get a lot from the world around you. So you can just everyday occurrences, just sitting on a park bench, in the supermarket, driving along. Pay attention to people's behaviour, the unique settings that they're in, conversations, or even sort of like stories or news stories. All of these things can give you inspiration for your novels. And sometimes even the most mundane kind of moments can really serve as the foundation for compelling narratives in your novel. Because let's face it, life is quite often quite monotone. There are peaks and there are troughs, but if you can write real life, the kind of basic day-to-day stuff in an engaging way, then you've really got the edge there. Another thing, explore your own experiences and emotions. Lots of my character development, lots of my stories come from anecdotal stories from my own life. And I don't think there are many writers who don't put a little bit of themselves into the story. So your main character, your protagonist, might not exactly be you, but they may have certain traits that are reminiscent of your own traits. I quite often write lots of anecdotal stuff, and I might put in funny stories that have happened to me, twist them, change them to suit the setting or the plot or the narrative. but I really do draw from my own experiences a lot. So things that you've done, memories, emotions, consider how you've navigated challenges, relationships, your personal growth, all this kind of drawing from your own experience and authenticity will add that authenticity and depth to your writing, to your characters, to your storylines, and it also gives you a mountain of material from which to craft your story and to craft sort of themes, conflicts, love stories, friendships, relationships, anger, sadness, fear. We've all felt those things. We've all done those things. So using that personal experience can really give you a hands-on kind of approach to your writing and will add authenticity to your voice and make your story believable. We write what we know, don't we? So really knowing something will be much more helpful when you come to describe it. Also, think about engaging in some creative exercises. So things like journaling, creative writing, free writing, those are the obvious ones that can really help you to improve your writing and help you to get into your flow. But other things such as brainstorming, what if scenarios, character profiling, and other things like, sort of exercises that can help you to generate new ideas, flesh out your characters, or unexpected plot lines for your novel. So sometimes by just having this kind of creative little creative exercises, it can lead you onto things that you might not have thought about in the beginning. So just free writing and seeing where it takes you, or combining that with your observations and your real life experiences and your personal stories, and then just free writing about those and seeing where that takes you. Other creative exercises that you can engage in would be things like, music, visual arts, film, that kind of thing. I get huge inspiration when I'm walking. I love to walk. Sometimes my brain needs a break. We wouldn't expect an athlete to train 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and never take a rest. And your brain's a bit like that. Sometimes we expect your brain to work super hard, to keep going, and sometimes it needs a break. And it's during these breaks when you can feel that you're most creative. So sometimes your best writing will happen when you're not actually writing at all, to be fair. When you're just, I love to walk on the beach with my dog. So I just wander around, I just look at the scenery, I just relax. And then when my brain is relaxed, it's sort of receptive and open to more ideas. So for me, walking in the woods, walking on the beach, walking in nature is really motivating and really inspiring. Visit an art gallery or watch your favourite film or thought-provoking films that mean that you think a little bit differently, mean that you explore new concepts, and try to look at that film as if you were the writer rather than just looking at it as the viewer. So pay attention to how the characters interact, pay attention to the plot lines, what works, what doesn't work, what's a bit rubbish, what's really good, what really engages you. So that can really help you to put more atmosphere into your novel. And remember that inspiration can strike at any moment. So stay open to new experiences and perspectives. Keep a notebook or a digital journal handy to capture these ideas when they come to you so that you don't forget them. And don't be afraid to explore different avenues until you find the inspiration that really resonates with you and your writing project. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm sure you'll have some inspirational activities of your own. You might already do some of those. Get in touch. I'd love to hear. And if you're looking for some help with planning your latest novel, you can always join my Writing Novel Challenge, which is happening on the 18th of May. Or if you've missed that, get in touch and I'll send you the replay. We're doing a challenge to help us plan our novel throughout the week. But do get in touch. Any questions that you'd like answered or any help with inspiration, I love to hear from you and I really do appreciate you listening. Take care and thank you for listening to Write to Publish.